What's up, guys? We are back with a full slate of MLB action here on Saturday, July 20th. Not the smoothest return from the All-Star break, but we found some wins out there, managing to go 3-3 on the day. Things did not get off to a great start. We saw the freaking Phillies blow that game that they definitely should have won, giving up 2 runs there in the 9th inning to lose 8-7. The Reds plus 106, they didn't come through on that one either. Montas had a disaster 4th and 5th innings to give up that game. We did hit the over in that Mets-Miami game, but the Mets couldn't come through for us. They ended up losing that game 6-4. Plenty of offense in that game, but yeah, just not for the Mets. Cleveland minus 110, that one came through pretty comfortably. Any price that you took Cleveland at looked like that was good. Hopefully you took them minus 1.5 because they had a dominant 7-0 shutout win. We also nailed the Oakland A's plus 100. They won that game 13-3. So a 3-3 day overall. I guess we'll take that coming back from the All-Star break. Hoping we can find a big winning day here on Saturday. Before we get into the games, do me a big favor and hit that like button. It's a great way to show some support for the channel and all the work we put in every single day. If you're new, go ahead and subscribe. It's 100% free and can keep you from missing out on these picks. Our videos are sponsored by StumpTheSpread.com. Click the link in the description to go over there and join our free email list and check out our top confidence plays in all the major sports. Comment below with all the bets you're looking at today and we will give you our best advice on all of them. We respond to absolutely every single comment, so let us know anything you want to say about my picks, these videos, or anything you see here. As always, our final picks will be in the pinned comment down below. Now let's get into our first game of the day. We've got the Tampa Bay Rays taking on the New York Yankees. The Rays come into this game fresh off of a 6-1 loss there in game 1 of this series. They're handing the ball in this one to Taj Bradley, who's 4-4 this year with a 2.90 ERA. He's coming off of a great start back in the 12th against Cleveland. He was dominant over 7 innings in that one. He's actually looked fantastic over his last 5 starts, guys. Absolutely nothing but good stuff for me to say about Taj Bradley right now. And he also has a decent start against the Yankees back on May 10th under his belt, so he's got some success against the opponent that he's going up against in this game. The Rays bullpen obviously continues to be something of a concern, guys. They're bottom, 6 or 7 bullpen in the majors with a 4.32 bullpen ERA. That is not very encouraging stuff. Big question marks for them once Taj Bradley comes out of this game. And we also have some questions about this offense. They only scored 1 run in game 1 of this series. Pretty big letdown there. They're 28th in the majors in runs scored, 21st in the majors in batting average. They're 25th in the majors in slugging percentage. Like, this is just not a team that you can trust to put up very many runs. I mean, heading into the All-Star break, they scored 2, 2, 2, and 5 runs respectively. Not a great hitting team right now. So they're going to need to figure something out here going up against the Yankees, who come into this game winners of 3 of their last 4 overall. They're 59-40 on the year, and while this team is clearly not at full strength, they're finding a way to get some things done. Obviously, seeing Garrett Cole look very, very good over 6 innings has to feel great for Yankees fans. They're handing the ball to Nestor Cortez in this game. He's 4-8 this season with a 3.67 ERA. He's coming off a pretty bad start, guys, and that was at the Tampa Bay Rays. He went 4 1/3 innings, gave up 7 hits and 5 earned runs, including a home run in that game. So that is not super encouraging stuff there from Cortez, and he's had his ups and downs this season for sure. He's actually faced the Rays another time this season. It was back on the 11th of May. He went 5 1/3 innings, gave up 5 hits and 4 earned runs, including 2 home runs. So yeah, not a spot that we're super excited for here for Nestor Cortez. He's definitely had plenty of problems here going up against the Tampa Bay Rays. In terms of the Yankees bullpen, guys, it hasn't been as good as it was earlier in the season. They're sitting somewhere around 5th in the majors with a 3.43 bullpen ERA, which is obviously not terrible, but this is a team that was at the top spot in the MLB in terms of bullpen ERA for quite some time. So yeah, maybe not quite as high on their bullpen as we've been at different points of the season. Offensively, they come out of the All-Star break looking pretty good, scoring 6 runs. Juan Soto went 4 for 4, like some very, very cool stuff there for the Yankees bats, but man, a little bit worried about this offense still. They should be fine, but they're missing some big pieces. I mean, Rizzo and Stanton not being back here after the All-Star break is definitely not ideal. So we'll see what we get out of them in this game. Looking at the numbers for this one, we see the Tampa Bay Rays at plus 120. We see the Yankees at minus 136. We've got an over-under of 8.5 in this game. Tampa Bay 21-21 on the road. The Yankees are 25-19 at home. So that makes us lean a little bit towards the Yankees. Not a lot of big trends towards the over-under in this game. We do see the Yankees are 23-20-1 to the over at home, and with the Rays hitting so well against Cortez here, I do think over 8.5 is a very reasonable spot. But in general in this game, guys, I think it's a good spot for the Tampa Bay Rays plus 120. Big question marks about Cortez. Also question marks about, how this team is going to hit the ball going up against Taj Bradley, who's looked so good. So yeah, go ahead and give me a taste of the Rays plus 120, and definitely something to look at there on that over 8.5. Next up, guys, we're looking at game one of the doubleheader between the St. Louis Cardinals and the Atlanta Braves after that postponement from yesterday. The Cardinals are going to be handing the ball reportedly to Kyle Gibson in game one. He comes into this game fresh off a pretty bad outing back on the 13th against the Cubs. He went 4 innings, gave up 10 hits and 4 earned runs. In a game, the Cardinals eventually won 5-4. The Cardinals are also 4-1 over his last 5 starts, so that's some nice stuff, but he hasn't been very impressive. The deepest he's gone in a game over his last 4 starts has been 5 innings. Like, just not a guy I trust very much. He demands a lot of run support to find success. The Cardinals bullpen has obviously been insane down the stretch here, so we'll see what we get out of them here after the All-Star break, but expecting good things from this bullpen, absolutely no doubt about it. The offense also seemed to be finding its stride a little bit here. The big deal is going to be whether we can see Goldschmidt and Arenado get on track here in the second half of the season. It's been a bit of a struggle for them early on. There's a reason this team is 23rd in the majors in runs scored and 20th in the majors in slugging percentage. All that being said, though, a lot of those offensive numbers for the Cardinals are trending in a positive direction. So we'll see if they can kind of keep that going here, going up against the Atlanta Braves, who are reportedly going to be handing the ball to Charlie Morton in game one of this doubleheader. Morton is 5-5 this season with a 4.07 ERA. He's coming off of a kind of mediocre start back on the 10th against the Arizona Diamondbacks. And the Diamondbacks are a solid hitting team, don't get me wrong. 6 1/3 innings, 5 hits, and 4 earned runs against them. Not exactly a disaster. We do see that the Braves are only 2-3 over his last 5 starts, so that's not ideal. He hasn't faced the Cardinals yet this season, so nothing to be gleaned from that. But in general, the Braves just have to be hoping they can get Morton through this game and hand it off to their bullpen, which has been insanely good. A 2.94 bullpen ERA has them second in the majors, and they also need this offense to kind of get things figured out, guys. I mean, over the course of the season, they're 19th in the majors in runs scored, 23rd in the majors in on-base percentage, 17th in the majors, only hitting .241 as a team. Like, they're leaning very hard on Ozuna to really, carry the load for this squad, and that's a tall task for somebody to do for an entire season. So we'll see what we get out of this offense here, but going up against Kyle Gibson doesn't seem like a terrible spot. Looking at the numbers for this game one of this series, we see the Cardinals at +132, the Braves at -156, and we've got an over-under of 9 in this game. I do think the Braves -156 is a pretty good spot. I'm expecting something of a bounce back from Charlie Morton. The Cardinals are 24-24 on the road. Atlanta is a very solid 29-17 at home. So yeah, I mean, we've got both teams showing decent trends towards the under, but with Kyle Gibson on the mound, seems a little bit sketchy to me. If you want to take a look at under 9 in this game, I suppose you could, but I think the better value is on the Atlanta Braves -156 going up against Kyle Gibson. Next up, guys, we're looking at the Detroit Tigers going on the road to take on the Toronto Blue Jays. The Tigers come into this game winners of the last 3 in a row. They won game one of this series 5-4. Very solid stuff there. We're seeing this team, maybe come alive a little bit at the plate with some very, very good, some solid hitting and stuff like that. And they've had good starting pitching most of the season. They're handing the ball to Reese Olson in this game. He's 4-8 overall with a 3.30 ERA. Coming off of a decent start back on the 10th against the Cleveland Guardians, he went 6 innings, gave up 3 earned runs on 6 hits. He did give up a home run in that game, so not ideal there, but over his last 5 starts, guys, he has not given up over 3 earned runs in any of them. So very, very good stuff out there, what we're seeing from Reese Olson right now. He hasn't faced the Toronto Blue Jays yet this season, so we're not too worried about that. We're also, we're maybe a little bit worried, but not super worried about the Tigers bullpen. They're somewhere around league average with a 4.11 bullpen ERA. Not really a disaster situation there, and if the bats come alive for this team, they could do some nice stuff. They're 18th in the majors in runs scored, but only 24th in batting average and 26th in on-base percentage. That's over the course of the season, though, guys. Over their last 3 games, they've scored 5, 4, and 11 runs, respectively. Not terrible stuff. They had a 10-run game against Cleveland. They had an 11-run game against the Dodgers. This offense seems to be putting things together, so we'll see what they can do here against the Toronto Blue Jays, who obviously lost game 1 of this series, so yeah, getting a little bit banged up there. That's not a great look, and at 44-53 on the season, it's very likely the Toronto Blue Jays could be sellers here at the trade deadline. They're handing the ball to Yusei Kikuchi in this game. He's 4-8 this season with a 4.42 ERA. He's coming off of a terrible start at Arizona back on the 14th, guys. He went 4 2/3 innings, gave up 6 hits and 7 earned runs in a game that we miraculously saw Toronto end up winning 8-7, but still not very good stuff from Kikuchi. He's been solid generally speaking this season, but not what I would label an A+ starter. So some question marks there. Obviously, a lot of question marks about this Toronto bullpen, guys. A 4.88 bullpen ERA is atrocious. So once Kikuchi comes out of this game, even if he's having a good night, not expecting the bullpen really to be able to hold on. And the Toronto bats, are they really going to be able to carry the load here? I mean, they scored 4, 8, 1, and 4 runs respectively over their last few games. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is leading the way for them, but he's not having the best season, and this team is tied for 24th in the majors in runs scored, 24th in the majors in slugging percentage, a slugging percentage of 377. Not going to get me too excited. They're batting 236 as a team. Just not a lot of positives to find for this offense. So looking at the numbers for this game, guys, we see the Tigers at plus 120. We see the Blue Jays at minus 134. We've got an over-under of 8 in this game. Detroit is only 23 and 26 on the road, so that's not amazing. Toronto is 21 and 24 at home, so that's obviously not a great home mark. They're better at home than they are on the road, but still, yeah, not too excited about that. So in general in this game, guys, in terms of the side, I'm definitely leaning towards the Detroit Tigers plus 120, especially with Reese Olson out there on the mound. I also want to take a look at this over-under of 8, guys, because we see Detroit is 26, 21, and 2 to the over on the road, and we see Toronto is actually a slight over team at home. They're 23, 21, and 1 to the over at home, and with an over-under of only 8, I think that is very live in this game. So we're very likely to be putting one of these two picks in the pinned comment. It could either be the Tigers plus 120 or just the straight up over in this game. You'll just have to check that pinned comment and see. Next on the docket, guys, we're looking at the Los Angeles Angels going on the road to take on the Oakland A's. We saw the Angels take the 13-3 loss there in Game 1 of this series, so not the start they wanted. They're handing the ball in this game to Jack Kohanowitz. He comes into this game 0-1 this season with a 12.00 ERA. It's going to be his second start of the year. His first one, he was going up against the Seattle Mariners. Not exactly the toughest hitting team, guys, and he got absolutely shelled. 7 hits over 3 innings, giving up 5 runs. 4 of them were earned. He had a home run in that outing. Just not great stuff, and that was against a pretty weak hitting opponent. He's only 23 years old, coming up to the major leagues, expecting him to have plenty of issues, but we'll see. At some point, he's likely to get his head back on straight and, start doing some positive things. The Angels bullpen, guys, not a great one. A 4.53 bullpen ERA is pretty much a disaster. One of the worst 3 or 4 bullpens in the majors, and this offense has not been amazing. They did have a decent series, winning 3 out of 4 there against the Seattle Mariners, but yeah, not getting things off to a hot start here after the All-Star break, scoring only 3 runs. They're 26th in the majors in runs scored, 24th in the majors on base percentage. Just not a team you can really trust up there at the plate. And they're taking on the Oakland A's, who come into this game winners of their last 2 in a row and 3 of their last 4. They've been on an absolute offensive tear, scoring a combined 31 runs over their last 2 games. Pretty crazy stuff, guys. They picked right back up where they left off after the All-Star break. They're only 38 and 61 this season, though, so they've got their issues. Handing the ball in this game to Mitch Spence, who's 5 and 6 this year with a 4.75 ERA, coming off a pretty bad start at the Phillies, guys. He went 3 2/3 innings, gave up 5 hits and 6 earned runs. He's got a couple recent starts against the Angels. Back on the 2nd of July, he looked very good, gave up only a single run on 5 3rd innings work, but he gave up 6 hits in that one, so not amazing. And the start before that at the Angels, he got absolutely shelled. So we'll see if he can hold together here in this one, going up against the Angels for the 3rd time in pretty recent history. See what we get there. We're not too worried about this Oakland A's bullpen, guys. It's been borderline top 10 in the majors, a 3.66 bullpen ERA. Absolutely nothing to worry about there. So if we see a decent start here from Spence, we could see another Oakland A's win, especially if the offense can keep just churning out runs. I mean, this has been pretty crazy recently. They're up to 24th in the majors in runs scored, but they're still, lagging way down there. Their season has not been good. Just recently they've been hitting the ball really well. So we'll see if they can continue. I mean, 13, 18, 5, and 6 runs respectively over their last 4 games is pretty crazy stuff. Looking at the numbers for this game, we see the Angels at plus 116, the A's at minus 134. We've got an over-under of 8.5 in this game. The Angels are a pretty bad road team, guys, 19 and 26, or maybe it's 19 and 27 now on the road, and Oakland is 23 and 25 at home, so that's not terrible. No big trends to look at for the over-under here, but guys, in general, I'm looking at the Oakland A's again. I don't have a whole lot of faith here in this rookie that the Angels are, running out there onto the mound to get him, get him some game experience and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know if this is going to make it into the pinned comment like it did yesterday, but I do think the Oakland A's minus 134 has some pretty reasonable value attached. Next on the docket, guys, we got the New York Mets going on the road to take on the Miami Marlins. The Mets come into this game fresh off of a very disappointing 6-4 loss there in Game 1 of this series. They're 49 and 47 on the year, handing the ball in this one to Luis Severino, who's 6 and 3 this season with a 3.78 ERA. His last start was a solid one against the Washington Nationals, 6 1/3 innings pitched, 4 hits, 2 earned runs, no home runs. He did walk 3, but he also struck out 4, so not terrible stuff there. I think we can safely say that he's back on track after that weird debacle he had against the Pirates, and he's getting it to go up against the Marlins in this game, a team that he's had success against this season, or at least the last time he faced them this season. When he faced them in May, he got shredded. When he faced them in June, he looked very, very good. So we'll see which version of Severino we get in this one. all things being considered, I'm expecting him to have a pretty decent start in this game. We do have some concerns about this Mets bullpen. A 4.22 bullpen ERA is obviously not ideal. We also have some mild concerns about the offense, although, scoring 4 runs in your first game back from the All-Star break is not a disaster. Just unfortunate they weren't able to put up a few more or pitch a little bit better. This offense has been very good, guys. 8th in the majors in runs scored, 10th in the majors batting .250 as a team. They're 9th in the majors in on-base percentage, and 7th in the majors slugging the ball at a .420 clip. Like, this is a pretty good offensive team, no doubt about it. And they're going up against the Marlins, who have now won 2 games in a row, but at 34-63 on the season, not a lot of great positives to report. They're handing the ball in this game to Rodri Munoz, who's 1-4 this year with a 5.47 ERA. He comes in this game fresh off a pretty mediocre start there at Houston. He went 6 2/3 innings, gave up 5 hits and 6 runs. 4 of them were earned in that game, and that was at Houston. So, yeah, definitely some question marks for me about him. He has faced the Mets this season back on the 13th of last month, and he was lights out in that game. 6 innings, only a single hit in that one. So, yeah, he looked very, very good in that outing. So we'll see if he can replicate that success against the Mets here. We'll also see what we get out of this Miami Marlins bullpen, which, has been a little bit better than you would expect. A sub-4 bullpen ERA for a team like the Marlins is, something they'll take especially when you're really hard searching for some positives. But the offense hasn't been great. They've scored 9 total runs over the last 2 games combined, which is fine, but they're 29th in the majors in runs scored this season, 29th in the majors getting on base at a .284 clip. Like, just not a ton of positive things to say about this offense. So in general, looking at the numbers of this game, guys, we see the Mets at -160. We see the Marlins at +138. We've got an over-under of 8.5 in this game. The Mets are 22-20 on the road. Miami's only 18-31 on the road, or at home, so that's pretty terrible stuff. We do see some interesting trends towards the over here. The Mets are the best over team on the road, and the Marlins are the best over team at home. The Marlins are 34 now, 34-14-2 to the over at home, and the Mets are 27-13-3 to the over on the road. So if you want to just go ahead and play that trend, just ride that trend out, taking over 8.5 doesn't sound crazy to me at all. Will it end up in the pinned comment with these 2 starters on the mound, though? I don't think so for me. In general, I'm looking at this as more of a game that I expect the Mets to probably bounce back and win, but overall, likely a stay away spot for me. Next up, guys, we're looking at the Philadelphia Phillies going on the road to take on the Pittsburgh Pirates. We saw the Phillies really blow one there in Game 1 of this series to lose 8-7 after that game-winning single in the 9th inning there from Nick Gonzalez. That was some pretty rough stuff. They're 62-35 in the year, though, so I'm sure they're not too worried. Handing the ball in this game to Christopher Sanchez, who's 7-4 this season with a 2.96 ERA. He looked good there in the All-Star game. His last start of the first half of the season was back on the 10th. He looked good against the Dodgers. 6 innings, 5 hits, 2 earned runs in that one. So very, very positive trends here to look at for him. Throwing the ball great right now. It's going to be his second time taking on the Pirates, and he looked good in the first time, but that was all the way back in April, so we're not really going to freak out about that. But in general, feeling good about Sanchez. Not feeling too good about that Phillies bullpen that has just been plummeting this, recently. Not looking too good at all. So big question marks for me about that bullpen right now. So we'll see what we get from them in this game. And the offense, they did put up 7 runs in Game 1 of this series. Like, it seems like they're going to be all right. They're getting healthy. Like, things are starting to line up. I'm expecting this team to put up plenty of runs, generally speaking, over the course of the rest of the season. This is going to be one of the scariest offenses in the major leagues. 4th in the majors in runs scored, 3rd in the majors batting nearly .260 as a team, 3rd in the majors getting on base at a .331 clip, and they are top 6 in the majors in slugging percentage. So yeah, not a lot of bad things for me to say about this offense. They're hoping they can keep things rolling here against the Pirates, who come into this game, shockingly enough, winners of 5 in a row. They're 49-48 on the year. They're still 6 games back of Milwaukee there in the race for the NL Central, but they're hitting the ball in this game to Luis Ortiz, who has been a big help for them, guys. He comes into this game fresh off a great start back on the 13th at the White Sox. 5 2/3 innings, only a single earned run, and this is going to be his 4th start here. And in his starts, guys, he has been lights out in a start against the Mets back on the 7th. 6 innings, 4 hits, no runs, and 5 strikeouts. And his first start, I'm pretty sure that was his first start of the season back on the 26th of last month at the Cincinnati Reds, guys. 6 innings, 4 hits, only 1 earned run while striking out 7 and walking 0. This dude has been absolutely lights out. This 25-year-old is killing it right now, so definitely can feel good about that. How do we feel about the Pirates bullpen? Well, guys, a 4.35 bullpen ERA does not fill us with optimism. I do not really trust this bullpen at all. The offense, though, guys, has been humming along. 8, 9, 6, 4, and 1 run, respectively, over their last few games. Brian Reynolds, obviously an absolute monster. This team across the board hasn't put up great offensive numbers this season, but they're swinging some some relatively hot bats right now, hot enough that I can at least slightly pretend to ignore the fact that they're only batting 231 as a team this season and only getting on base at a 299 clip. So yeah, some negatives to look at there for sure. And look at the numbers for this game, guys. It's pretty interesting. We see the Phillies as big favorites again, minus 176. And with Sanchez on the mound, I can totally understand it. We got the Pirates at plus 148. We've got an over-under of 8.5 in this game. The Phillies are 24-18 on the road. Pittsburgh is 22-24 at home. So not a ton to go off of there. Also no big trends towards the over-under. I mean, Pittsburgh's a slight under team at home, but I do feel like under 8.5 is possibly live in this game with these two starters out there on the mound. I just can't really trust these two bullpens enough. So if you want to take under in the first 5, that could definitely make some sense. Or this could be a no-run first inning spot. I do feel like that's a little bit crazy to take a no-run first inning spot against the Phillies, but hey guys, sometimes those pay off. So I don't think this is a game that I'm necessarily going to have in the pinned comment, but I think there's some value at putting offense at a premium in this game with two very good starters on the mound. Moving right along, guys, we've got the Cincinnati Reds going on the road to take on the Washington Nationals. The Reds let us down yesterday, losing 8-5 in that game 1 of the series. They're 47-51 on the year, handing the ball to Nick Lodolo, who's 8-3 this season with a 3.33 ERA. He comes into this game fresh off of a kind of mediocre showing against the Marlins back on the 14th. Maybe he was just ready to get into the All-Star break or something like that, because generally speaking this season, he's been very solid. Not a lot of bad things for me to say about him. He hasn't faced the Washington Nationals yet this season, so I'm expecting him to have a relatively good time going up against them. I mean, not the strongest hitting team, and yeah, I mean, he's been pretty good. Maybe a guy that slightly pitches to the level of his competition, but you know, we'll have to see how he looks out there recently. I think the All-Star break hit at a pretty good time for this 26-year-old, and in general, guys, we can feel great about the Reds bullpen. They've been top 5 or 6 in the majors with a 3.44 bullpen ERA for quite some time now, so definitely a lot of things to feel good about the pen for them, if not the starting pitching. And the offense has been a little bit problematic. They've scored 5, 2, and 10 runs respectively over their last few games. They're 14th in the majors in runs scored, 26th in the majors in team batting average, though batting 231 as a team, not great. Their on-base percentage of 306 is also not amazing. So yeah, I've got some question marks about this offense in general. Are they coming around a little bit? Maybe we give them credit for a little bit here, but yeah, not an offense that I'm necessarily freaking out about. So we'll see what they can do here going up against the Nationals, who come into this game 45-53 on the year, winners of 3 of their last 4. They're handing the ball to Mackenzie Gore, who's 6-8 this season with a 4.01 ERA. He's coming off a couple questionable starts too, guys. He's given up at least 4 earned runs in 3 out of his last 5 starts. We also see the Nationals are only 1-4 over his last 5 starts. Like, not a crazy amount of positives there. I mean, he hasn't faced the Reds yet this season, so we'll see what he can do in this one, but I have my reservations here about Mackenzie Gore. I'm also a little bit worried about that Nationals bullpen, guys. They're right around MLB average, maybe a hair below there with a 4.10 bullpen ERA, so yeah, not exactly feeling amazing about that. And just in general, this pitching staff isn't one that fills me with a crazy amount of optimism, but neither is this offense, guys. They have been swinging the bats a bit better recently, and like before the All-Star break, they were hitting the ball pretty well, but yeah, I mean, they're tied for 21st in the majors in runs scored. They're 27th in the majors in slugging percentage. Like, this is just not an offense led by CJ Abrams here that really gets me going too much. So looking at the numbers for this game, we see the Reds at minus 105. We see the Nationals at minus 106. We got an over-under of 8.5 in this one. Cincinnati is a 500 team on the road. Washington is a slightly below 500 team at home. We see both teams trending a little bit, and by a little bit, I mean by the narrowest margins towards the under. So we're not super interested in the under or the over 8.5, but I am interested in the Reds minus 105 to bounce back and get a win in this game behind a solid start from Lodolo. Is he somebody we like super duper trust? Not necessarily, but Mackenzie Gore isn't somebody we super trust for the Nationals either. So I think in a slugfest here, if that's what it ends up being, I don't mind taking the Reds in this spot, and I do think Lodolo could have a decent outing. Moving right along here, guys, we're looking at the Baltimore Orioles going on the road to take on the Texas Rangers. The Orioles come into this game fresh off of a 9-1 win there in Game 1 of this series. They're 59-38 on the year, getting off to a good start to the second half of the season. They're handing the ball in this one to Grayson Rodriguez, who's 11-4 this year with a 3.88 ERA. He's coming off of a terrible start there heading into the All-Star break. He got shelled by the Yankees. He was part of that whole, Orioles stumbling there into the All-Star break. He went 5 innings, he had 8 hits and 6 earned runs, but generally speaking this season, the dude has been excellent out there on the mound. Really no no major complaints from me at all, except for, that last outing. So we'll see if he can get a little bit of a bounce back going here. We're also hoping for, some slightly better stuff from the Baltimore Orioles bullpen. They're, a little bit ahead of the average in the MLB, but with a 3.79 bullpen ERA, we've definitely seen better stuff from that pen over the course of this season. So definitely some room for improvement out there. And the bats seem like they're back on track, guys. 9 runs in that one. Things are looking good right off the bat here after the All-Star break. So expecting this team that's been one of the best offenses in Major League Baseball to stay on track for a while now. They're 5th in the majors in runs scored, 9th in the majors in batting average, batting .253 as a squad. They are the top slugging percentage team in the majors. Just expecting this team to put up some runs no matter who they're going up against. And they're taking on the Texas Rangers in this game, who are in kind of desperation mode at 46 and 51 on the year. They need to get things going in the right direction pretty quick. They're only 5 games back of Houston and Seattle there in the AL West, but Houston's been looking pretty good. The Rangers are handing the ball to Max Scherzer in this game. He's 1-2 with a 2.96 ERA. The last time he faced Baltimore was back on the 28th of last month. He went 5 1/3 innings, gave up 4 hits and 2 earned runs, including a home run in a game we eventually saw the Rangers lose 2-1. And that was kind of during Baltimore's, problem, situations. We haven't seen Scherzer really look dominant this season. I mean, obviously coming off an injury, and the dude's 39 years old. I don't think we should be expecting miracles from him. So we'll see what he can do here against the Baltimore Orioles, one of the best hitting teams in baseball. We'll also see what that Rangers bullpen can do. I mean, I'm not expecting Scherzer to go, 8 innings into this game, and the Rangers bullpen is sporting a 4.38 bullpen ERA. So major question marks for me about their pitching staff in this game. Also some questions about the offense. It seems like they may be spluttering out of the gate here after the All-Star break, putting up only a single run in game 1 of this series. Over the course of this year, they've been a pretty average to slightly below average offensive team. They've had their peaks and valleys for sure, but right now kind of feeling like a valley. They're 17th in the majors in runs scored and 18th in the majors, batting .241 as a team. Like, I've got questions about this offense, and looking at the numbers for this game, guys, we see the Orioles at -115, the Rangers at +106. We've got an over-under of 8 in this game. Baltimore is 28-16 on the road. That's an MLB best road record. We see the Rangers are 24-21 at home, so, they're a tough home team, don't get me wrong, but in general, guys, I'm definitely leaning towards Baltimore -115 on the road in this game. I think they've got an excellent shot to get to Scherzer, and if they don't get to Scherzer, I fully expect them to get to that Rangers bullpen. In terms of the over-under in this game, we see that Baltimore is a big over team on the road, but that the Rangers are a 30-13-2 to the under at home. That's an MLB best mark to the under, so not super interested in that. If you're forcing me to take the over-under, I guess give me over 8, but in general, I really like the Orioles in this spot. Rapid fire through these games, guys. We're looking at the Chicago White Sox going on the road to take on the Kansas City Royals. The White Sox took the 7-1 loss at Kansas City in game 1 of this series, and at 27-72 on the year, they're having a pretty rough time. They're hitting the ball to their young guy, Jonathan Cannon, one of the best names in professional baseball right now. He's 1-3 this year with a 4.41 ERA. Not exactly having the time of his life out there. His last time starting was on the 12th against the Pirates. He went 6 innings, gave up 7 hits and 4 earned runs. So, not terrible stuff out there. We did see the White Sox lose that game 4-1. Not a big shocker there. And it's not like they've got a great bullpen to back them up, guys. A 4.68 bullpen ERA is absolutely terrible. Do I think Cannon might have a good start in him after coming off of the All-Star break? Certainly, but man, what can you really do out there pitching for the White Sox? They've got one of the worst offenses in Major League Baseball, probably the actual worst. Last in runs scored, last in on-base percentage, last in slugging percentage, and second to last in batting average. They scored 1, 4, 2, 1, and 2 runs respectively over their last 5 games. Just not a lot of good things to say about this team or this offense. They're taking on the Kansas City Royals, who come into this game fresh off that much-needed win. They're 53-45 in the season, handing the ball in this one to Brady Singer, who's 5-6 this year with a 3.20 ERA. He's coming off a terrible start at Boston, guys. Back on the 14th, 2 2/3 innings, 8 hits, and 4 earned runs. He was coming off of a slightly extended start there at Colorado, so I guess we're not too shocked to see him struggle a little bit, but man, yeah, I mean, you're hoping for better things with him on the mound. He's been very good this season in general. The last time he faced the White Sox was back in April, so we can't take a lot from that, but he did look decent in that start, so we'll see what we get from him in this one. We're especially interested to see what we get from the Royals bullpen, which had their struggles in the first half of the season. Finishing the first half with a 4.22 bullpen ERA is not ideal, well below MLB average. The offense got off to a great start, though. 7 runs in that one, very good stuff. Bobby Witt Jr. doing his thing, hitting a home run, and drove in 2 runs in that. Like, looking very good. This offense seems to be on track here coming off the All-Star break. They're 11th in the majors in batting average and 13th in the majors in runs scored. So look at the numbers for this game. No big shocker here. We see the Royals as big favorites at -200. The White Sox are +180. We've got an over-under of 9 in this game. The White Sox are 10-37 on the road. No shocker there. That's an MLB worst road mark. We see Kansas City is 31-18 at home, so that's pretty nice. Obviously, to make this game really worth your while, you'd be wanting to look at the Royals -1.5. You take a -1.5, you can get them at -105, which seems pretty reasonable to me. there's a chance we end up firing this spot on the Royals. Not too interested in the over-under in this one. I do think there's an outside chance that we could see a good start from Jonathan Cannon, but even if we do see a good start from him, that's going to be like 6 innings at the most, and then we're going to see that White Sox bullpen. So go ahead and give me the Royals -1.5 in this game with a definite chance to end up in the pinned comment. Next on the deck, guys, we've got the Milwaukee Brewers going on the road to take on the Minnesota Twins. This is actually the Brewers' first game back since the All-Star break. They went into the All-Star break fresh off of a win there against Washington, but they kind of stumbled there towards the end, losing 3 out of 4. They're 55-42, still in the top spot there in the NL Central. Handing the ball in this game to Freddie Peralta, who's 6-5 this year with a 4.11 ERA. Dude's kind of been all over the place this season, not going to lie. I mean, his start against the Nationals back on the 12th, 5 innings, gave up 10 hits and 4 earned runs. So we'll see if he can get back on track. He's had some very good outings this season, generally speaking, and he's not a guy that we really think should be having so much trouble out there. I mean, he's got good stuff. He's a solid pitcher. Like, we'll see if he can get back on track here. We'll also see how that Milwaukee Brewers bullpen looks. They've been good all season long, pretty much, guys. They're sitting in 3rd place right now with a 3.35 bullpen ERA, so clearly not very much wrong with that. We'll see how much work they get with Peralta out there and how early they have to come into the game. He's not somebody you can really lock in for 7 innings, so we'll see what we get from this pitching staff. We'll also have to wait and see what we're going to get from this offense. They come into this game fresh off the All-Star break, obviously, but before that they had scored 9, 5, and 2 runs respectively over their last few games. They are 6th in the majors with a 466 runs scored this season, so that's some decent stuff, don't get me wrong. They're 5th in the majors, batting .255 as a team, so there's some positives out there for this offense, don't get me wrong. 2nd in the majors and on base percentage, like, this is a good offense, absolutely no doubt about it. We'll see if they can keep pace with the Minnesota Twins, who come into this game. It's going to be their first game since the All-Star break as well. They are 54-42 on the season. Handing the ball to Pablo Lopez in this game, he's 8-7 this year with a 5.11 ERA. He's coming off a decent start. It was at the Chicago White Sox back on the 10th, so he hasn't pitched in, what is that going to make it, 10 days now? So that seems a bit problematic. Going to be some rust possibly involved, and he didn't look that great against the White Sox. The start before that, he didn't look good at all against the Houston Astros. We do somehow see that the Twins are 4-1 over his last 5 starts, but those wins were against the White Sox, the Mariners, the Oakland A's, and the Tampa Bay Rays. So the Twins can't be that pumped to have him on the mound for this game. In general, they are probably very excited about their bullpen, though. A 3.51 bullpen ERA, nothing to be ashamed of there. That's a very solid number, and the offense has been good all year long, basically, guys. Tied for 6th in the majors in runs scored, 8th in the majors in batting average, batting .254 as a team. They're 3rd in the majors in slugging percentage. Like, this is a very, very good offense. Absolutely no doubt about it. So looking at the numbers for this game, we see the Brewers at +102, the Twins at -120. We've got an over-under of 7.5 in this game. Milwaukee is 26-25 on the road. Minnesota is 27-18 at home, so a very solid home team. We see both teams showing some very, very small trends towards the over. So, I mean, if you want to take a look at over 7.5, that just makes sense to me based on what we've seen from these pitchers lately and what we expect from these offenses generally speaking. So, over 7.5, very much in play for me in this game. I also think there's some value on the Brewers, +102. I don't really have any faith in Pablo Lopez. So, those are going to be my leans in this one. Will either one of those end in the pin comment? We're just going to have to wait and see. Next on the docket, guys, we got the San Diego Padres going on the road to take on the Cleveland Guardians. The Padres took the big L there in Game 1 of the series, losing 7-0. They're 50-50 on the year. Handing the ball to Dylan Cease in this game, who's 8-8 this season with a 3.99 ERA, coming off a great start before the All-Star break there against the Atlanta Braves. So he has to be feeling pretty good about that in general, and he could probably feel decent about his season, but this team just has not had the success they were looking for. He has not faced the Guardians yet this year, so nothing to be gleaned from that, but in general, Dylan Cease has looked pretty decent. Their bullpen, on the other hand, guys, the San Diego Padres bullpen, nothing to write home about. A 4.31 bullpen ERA clearly has them in the bottom third of the league and is a big problem. This team has had some struggles this season. Their offense has been all over the place, obviously not looking great in Game 1 here after the All-Star break, so I mean, getting shut out, not the best look. They're 11th in the majors in runs scored, 2nd in the majors in batting average, batting .261 as a team. Like, the numbers aren't the problem. It just seems like they struggle to get runs across the plate. So we'll see what they do here against the Guardians, who come into this game fresh off of that blowout win. We saw Jose Ramirez hit a 2-run single in that game. And in general, this team's looking great at 59-37. Handing the ball to Gavin Williams in this one. He's 0-1 this year with a 3.77 ERA. He's going to be making only his 3rd start of the year. His last time out was back on the 13th at Tampa Bay. He went 5 innings, gave up 3 hits, and only a single earned run. So pretty good stuff there. He hasn't seen a ton of action this year, and he's coming off the All-Star break. He's only 24 years old, so we'll have to see what we get out of him in this one, but I'm expecting pretty decent stuff here from him, and obviously I'm always going to be expecting amazing stuff from that Cleveland bullpen, guys. A 2.60 bullpen ERA is nuts and tops in the majors. So definitely great stuff if they can hand their bullpen a lead, and they sure did yesterday, and it looked great. We see Kwan and Jose Ramirez leading the way for this offense pretty much all season long. I mean, they're 10th in the majors in runs scored, 16th in the majors in batting average, they're 12th in the majors in slugging percentage, and they're getting on base at a 316 clip. All very solid numbers and things that make me feel pretty good about the direction of this offense. So looking at the numbers for this game, guys, we see the Padres at -108, we see the Guardians at -110. We've got an over-under showing of both 7.5 and 8 out there. So yeah, a little bit of variation there. Not a huge lean on the over-under for me in this game. We do see Cleveland is a staggeringly good home team, guys. They've been dominant at home, 31-11 now on their home field. So yeah, very good stuff there. The Padres not having a great time here right off the bat, 23-21 on the road over the course of the season. So in general, in this game, guys, we might be running it back here with the Guardians -110. I do like what I'm seeing from Gavin Williams. Obviously, I'm loving what I'm seeing from that Cleveland bullpen, and if the offense can keep going, this is a very dangerous team. So yeah, give me the Guardians at a very reasonable price in this one. Next up, guys, we got the Arizona Diamondbacks going on the road to take on the Chicago Cubs. We saw the Diamondbacks come away with a 5-2 win there in Game 1 of this series. They're up to 50-48 on the year. This team is not going away, trying to make a run at things here. They're handing the ball to Zach Gallen, who's 6-5 this season with a 3.87 ERA. He's coming off a terrible start back on the 14th against the Toronto Blue Jays, guys. 3 2/3 innings, 9 hits, 6 earned runs, 7 runs overall. Honestly, his last 3 starts have all been pretty problematic. So we'll see if he can get back on track here. Just not a guy that's had a terrible season, but been having some rough times lately. So hopefully there's not some health issue that we don't know about, but we have our questions about Zach Gallen in this game. We also, obviously, no shocker here, have our questions about this bullpen that has not been very good, guys. They're trending in a positive direction, don't get me wrong, but they're still easily in the bottom half of the league with a 4.28 bullpen ERA. The offense is what you want to watch for this team, and I mean, I don't blame you. 5 runs scored in their first game back from the All-Star break, where they scored 5, 7, 12, 5, like over the last few games. This team can sure hit the ball. Second in the majors in runs scored, 7th in the majors in batting average, batting .254 as a team. Their slugging percentage is top 10 in the majors. Their on-base percentage is .326. That's 5th in the majors. This team can hit the ball, and they're going up against a team that's been having struggle with that all season long pretty much. It's the Chicago Cubs, who are 47-52 on the year. Some weird stuff going on with the dismissal of an interpreter. There's just odd stuff happening in Chicago right now. They're handing the ball to Kyle Hendricks, another guy with odd stuff going on, guys. He's 2-7 with a 6.78 ERA. He's coming off a great start at the Cardinals back on the 12th. He went 7 innings, gave up 5 hits, and no runs. Very dominant stuff there, but his starts before that were very crazy. He had 2 wild ones. It basically seems it's all up to the health of his back. If his back is feeling great, good. He's going to go out there and look great. If his back is a little bit off, he's going to go out there and get absolutely rocked and not be able to stay in the game for long. So yeah, really weird trying to figure that out every time he's on the mound. The bullpen for the Cubs has been a little bit below average, but nothing terrible. A 3.96 bullpen ERA is fine, but nothing to write home about. This offense has been problematic this season, guys. They're 16th in the majors in runs scored, but 21st in slugging percentage and 22nd in batting average. Like, they've been putting up some runs lately, I suppose. 2, 8, 4, 3, and 5 runs respectively over the last few games. Just not great stuff. Not an offense that I'm very high on. So looking at the numbers for this game, we see the Diamondbacks at -132, the Cubs at +120. We got an over-under of 8.5 in this game. The Diamondbacks are 24-24 on the road. The Cubs are 25-22 at home. No big trends towards the over-under here. So yeah, guys, this is just a really tough game. Probably a stay away spot for me if I'm being honest. I mean, we just don't know what we're going to see from Kyle Hendricks. The dude could go out there and look amazing, or he could go out there and last 2 innings and give up 5 or 6 runs. Like, if the back's bothering him, he's terrible. If it's not bothering him, it's good. So if you have any sort of insider knowledge on how his back is, go ahead and bet this game. You know which way. But if you don't, I would say this is a real sketchy spot. Next on the docket, we've got the Boston Red Sox going on the road to take on the LA Dodgers. The Red Sox come into this game fresh off of a 4-1 loss there in Game 1 of this series. They're handing the ball in this one to Brian Bello, who's 10-5 this year with a 5.32 ERA. He's coming off a decent start there against the Royals. He went 6 1/3 innings, gave up 7 hits and 3 earned runs back on the 14th. So decent stuff there. Not a whole lot to complain about, but not a dominant outing by any stretch of the imagination, if you ask me. This dude, he hasn't been dominant this season. He's benefited from a lot of run support. So we'll see how Bello looks in this matchup. We'll also see how that Red Sox bullpen looks. They've had their issues lately, but a 3.67 bullpen ERA is still not terrible. So yeah, I mean, take that with a grain of salt. Obviously, they're coming off a game where they only scored 1 run, but this has generally speaking been a good offense this season, well above average, 4th in the majors in batting average, 7th in the majors, getting on base at a 323 clip, and they are a top 5 slugging percentage team. All of that adding up to them only being 12th in the majors in runs scored definitely leaves some room for improvement. So we'll see what they do here against the Dodgers, who come into this game fresh fresh off that win. They're hitting the ball in this one to Justin Robleski, who's 0-1 this season with a 6.30 ERA. His last time out was at Detroit back on the 13th. He went 5 innings, gave up 5 hits and 4 runs. 3 of them were earned. He's given up 2 home runs in each of his last 2 starts. Not exactly the kind of numbers that fill me with optimism, especially going up against a team like the Boston Red Sox that is pretty solid power numbers. So concerns there. Not a lot of concerns about the Dodgers bullpen, guys. 4th in the majors with a 3.42 bullpen ERA. Obviously, excellent stuff there. They've been a good team this season. 57 and 41 on the year obviously is great, but they're a little banged up still, leaning a lot on Ohtani to carry this offense and Freddie Freeman to carry things. So yeah, I mean, we'll see what we actually get out of this offense, but looking at the numbers overall, we've got the Red Sox at plus 120 on the road. We've got the Dodgers minus 135 at home. Over-under showing out there of 9 or 9.5. Boston is the second best road team in the MLB with a 29 and 17 road record. The Dodgers are 28 and 18 at home, so obviously that's, very, very good. We see both teams showing some trends towards the over, so I suppose if you wanted to find one of those 9s out there and take a little over bet, I could get behind that, but I really like the Red Sox plus 120 in this spot. Obviously, having Brian Bello on the mound doesn't fill me with, like tons and tons of confidence, but I think he can be good enough. I also think we're going to see a bunch of runs out of Boston in this game going up against a rookie pitcher that gives up the long ball, which is obviously something they are very interested in taking advantage of. Next up, we're going to take a brief look at Game 2 of that Cardinals-Atlanta Braves doubleheader there. A lot of this will depend on what actually happens in Game 1. Game 2, the Cardinals are slated to hand the ball to Sonny Gray, who's 9-6 this year with a 3.34 ERA. We talked about him a lot in yesterday's video. I do think there's a solid chance that he'll come out and have a good outing here. After having some struggles there headed into the All-Star break, he's a very, very good pitcher. I think we'll see him get back on track. We obviously feel good about the Cardinals bullpen and not that great about their offense, although the offense has been showing signs of life. So we'll see what we get out of the Cardinals in Game 1 to kind of determine if we want to add something about Game 2 into the pinned comment. We'll also be looking to see what we get out of the Braves, who are reportedly going to be handing the ball to Bryce Elder here in Game 2 of the doubleheader. He's 1-3 this season with a 5.71 ERA. Not exactly having a great time out there. He faced the Cardinals back on the 26th and went 6 innings, gave up 4 hits and 2 earned runs. So that's a positive trend to look at for sure. And we do see, though, that the Braves are only 1-4 over his last 5 starts. So, got to kind of take the good with the bad. Some of those starts, it wasn't his fault that they lost, and some of them it was. So we'll see. Obviously, in this game, the Braves bullpen is a huge advantage. Their offense hasn't been incredible, leaning a lot on Ozuna. So we'll just have to see what happens in Game 1 before we really decide what we're going to be leaning towards here in Game 2. If you're forcing me to, say something about it right now, I do slightly lean towards the Cardinals if this is the pitching matchup and the Cardinals are actually at plus 130. So yeah, I would say give me the Cardinals in this one in Game 2, but kind of have to wait and see what happens in Game 1. Rounding into the home stretch here, guys, we've got the San Francisco Giants going on the road to take on the Colorado Rockies. We saw the Giants come away with the 7-3 loss at Colorado in Game 1 of this series. They're 47-51 on the year, need to get things going in the right direction if they want to make it to where they want to be this season. Handing the ball in this one to Logan Webb, who's 7-7 this year with a 3.47 ERA. He did not have a good time there in the All-Star game at all. He got lit up, so not a great look there. Obviously didn't go into the All-Star break looking great after getting lit up by Toronto, so some big questions for me about Logan Webb and his stuff right now. Big questions, obviously. And yeah, I mean, looking at the Giants bullpen, not a bullpen that you're super excited about, a 4.32 bullpen ERA. So they really need Webb to look good in this game, and they need to put up a lot of runs. But this has been a strictly middle of the road offense this season. Not a great offensive team, not looking great headed into the All-Star break, and not looking great right now. So we'll see what we actually get from this offense as they go into Colorado to take on the Rockies, who've now won 2 in a row. They're only 35-63 on the year, but things are kind of looking up. They're handing the ball to Kyle Freeland, who's 1-3 this season with a 6.00 ERA. He's coming off a decent start at Cincinnati. He gave up a lot of hits, but managed to work his way out of trouble thanks to 9 strikeouts. His last 3 or 4 starts have all been very reasonable. So we're seeing great stuff from Freeland right now. And we also see that the Rockies are 3-1 over those starts. So yeah, very good stuff out there from Kyle Freeland. And looking at the Rockies bullpen, obviously it's the worst bullpen in Major League Baseball, so that's not a huge positive, but they didn't exactly get lit up there in Game 1 of this series, so we'll see if they can patch together another decent outing, and we'll see what the offense can do. They've combined to score 15 runs over the last 2 games, so seems like they're doing a little bit better, and they're hitting the ball pretty well at home, so, some positives here for a team that's, 20th in the majors in runs scored this season, but 15th in the majors in batting average. So looking at the numbers for this game, guys, we see the Giants at -162, the Rockies at +136, we've got an an over-under of 10.5 in this game. The Giants are a bad road team, guys. They are 19-27 on the road. Colorado is 20-25 at home. No major trends towards the over-under for this one. I mean, the Giants are a significant over team on the road, so if you wanted to take a look at over 10.5, maybe you could. But in general in this game, guys, I'm very interested in the Colorado Rockies plus 136. We've seen Logan Webb look so bad lately. Freeland's been trending in a great direction. I think this is a great value spot on a Rockies team that's much better at home than they are on the road. And yeah, guys, I think this is a good spot for this not very good team. Last but not least, guys, we got the Houston Astros going on the road to take on the Seattle Mariners. The Astros come into this game fresh off of a 3-0 win there in Game 1 of this series. They are now even there with the Seattle Mariners atop the AL West. They're handing the ball in this game to Framber Valdez, who's 8-5 this season with a 3.66 ERA, coming off a dazzling start against the Miami Marlins. Obviously, that's not too impressive of an opponent, but still a very, very good start. In general, this season, he's only pitched against the Mariners once, and he looked pretty good back in May. I mean, 6 innings, 6 hits, and 3 earned runs against a team like the Mariners isn't necessarily incredible, but it'll definitely work. In general, we've seen the Astros bullpen head in the right direction for quite some time now. They're up above average in the majors with a 3.73 bullpen ERA, so that's nice. And the offense, while they only put up 3 runs in Game 1 of this series, has been pointed in the right direction as well. I mean, we see Altuve hitting the ball well. They're first in the majors in batting average and top 10 in all the other major categories, so not an offense to turn your nose up at. They're going up against the Seattle Mariners, who, man, they're on a 4-game skid now. Things are not working out. They're handing the ball to George Kirby, hoping he can stem the tide here. He's 7-7 with a 3.29 ERA. He's coming off of, I would say all of his last 5 starts have been very, very reasonable. The last time he faced the Astros, he was dominant in that game. 6 innings pitched, 6 hits, only a single earned run while striking out 8 and walking 0. And that was back on May 29th, so not that long ago. So I think they can feel pretty good about handing the ball to George Kirby. Obviously, this is a team that feels very good about their pitching staff in general, with a very good bullpen with a 3.66 bullpen ERA. So not a lot of concerns there. All the concerns for this team is their offense. They're dead last in the majors in batting average. They are third to last in slugging percentage. Like, this is just a terrible offense. They've scored 0, 2, 1, and 5 runs respectively over their last few games. You just can't count on this team to put up any runs at all. So that's our biggest concern in this game. And looking at the numbers, we see the Astros at -102, the Mariners at -115. We got an over-under of 7 in this game. Houston is 20-25 on the road. Seattle is 30-18 at home, so a great home record. We see both teams showing trends towards the under. Big trends here. Go ahead and give me under 7 as the value in this game. I can't put this in the pen comment. That's way too small of a number, but in general, don't really know who's going to win in this game. Maybe tend to lean slightly towards the Mariners, but yeah, go ahead and give me under 7 if you're determined to bet this game. It's kind of a, I don't know what's going to happen in this one. That's all the games we have for today, guys. Hit that like button for good luck on all of your bets and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Let me know in the comments any questions you have on today's slate. Thanks for watching. You can click the link in the description to check out StumpTheSpread.com, and we'll see you guys tomorrow for more sports betting action.